Hello everyone, my name is Julia and this is my graduate research project for the Advanced Performance Management class MGT6430 with Dr. Sanchez in the winter 2024 semester at Amberton University. Welcome and thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoy. My graduate research project is structured as follows: introduction, hypothesis, methodology, overview of purpose, steps, and types of different performance management systems, followed by the company introduction, where we will discuss Deloitte and their history and background, and the recent changes in their performance management system, and what they value regarding the same. Next, we will discuss the Japanese culture and apply Hofstede's cultural dimensions to Japan. After that, we will use what we learned about performance management trends, Deloitte, and Japan and create a performance management system that considers all of these factors and highlight how the context will influence the aspects of communication, coaching, feedback, and technology. And lastly, we will go over my conclusion and references. Introduction. This research project will focus on designing a contemporary performance management system for a global company, emphasizing considerations related to technology, individual and team performance, as well as aspects related to participant feedback and coaching, while at the same time tailoring the system to fit the cultural aspects and nuances of the global context to optimize effectiveness and efficiency for all involved. The company highlighted in this research project is Deloitte, and we will focus on the position of tax consultants in Japan. Hypothesis. A performance management system is a crucial and critical company component that needs to be designed deliberately and in a purposeful and context-considerate manner in order to elevate this strategic HR tool to its full potential. This includes the alignment of organizational objectives and team goals, frequent and effective feedback mechanisms, consideration of the individual versus the team, as well as the incorporation of technology within these systems to remain agile and efficient. Methodology. The methodology used in this research project includes a wide-ranging literature review, including peer-reviewed journals, research articles, websites, and books, as well as a quantitative and qualitative aspects found therein, country-based data regarding culture, as well as personal experience. The topic in research will focus on the subject matter of performance management systems, contemporary consensus thereof, anticipated developments, as well as practical steps and application of the process with the overarching goal of designing a functional and effective performance review system in a global context for global employment tax consultants at Deloitte, Japan. Purposes. Performance management systems are a strategic HR tool that are applied with the general goal to motivate and guide employees to exhibit specific behaviors that support and advance the overall organizational objectives. Hence, they are a motivational instrument with the purpose of setting, monitoring, and improving the performance of the company by providing each participant the necessary resources to further the fundamental operational objectives. And they are necessary because they create an important link between the employee and the company. Managers build a relationship with employees and inform them about what needs to be done and how they can get there. Not only does this provide an essential roadmap for the workforce, but it also increases trust and thereby loyalty, commitment, engagement, and motivation. And not having a performance management system is really not an option. It decreases motivation and engagement because employees' efforts are not acknowledged and workers feel ignored and not valued. In addition, if performance is not monitored, organizational goals may be misaligned with individual ones, leading to inefficiencies and lost business opportunities. Furthermore, without these structures in place, poor performance is not addressed, and this can lower the overall morale and adversely affect the internal climate, as hardworking employees view the ignoring of low performers as condoning it. Now, let's look at some of the general steps in a performance management process. First, the company will have an overarching organizational objective, and they want to convert that into departmental or business unit goals to make sure that those are aligned with the overall mission. After that, the goal needs to be broken down into individual tasks and behaviors for employees or teams to execute. And this is usually done by job analysis and drafting of job descriptions that would list those behaviors and tasks. Then, of course, the behavior should be rated and monitored, and the results should be discussed with the employees, and then that should result in some sort of consequence, depending on what the review system was used for. This could be to determine raises, bonuses, or promotions, or to select employees for training and developmental purposes. So let's look at some of the different types of performance management systems, and please note that this list is not exhaustive as there are many additional types and variations. This is just a very brief overview. So we have ranking systems, which compares employees to one another with the goal of identifying the top and bottom performers, and usually this is done to terminate the lowest performers. Of course, this would foster competition and adversity if it is used for termination purposes, but it could also be used for learning and developmental purposes instead to see who would benefit most from training. Then we have the management by objectives method, which is called short MBO. And employees are very involved in this process, including self-evaluations and goal setting. And this really increases motivation and commitment and decreases rater bias because more people are involved. But the focus may only be on achieving goals and less on how to achieve them and following approved procedures. In the 360-degree review, ratees are evaluated by numerous raters, including internal and external stakeholders such as peers, customers, self-ratings, and this can even include subordinates rating their supervisors. This also decreases bias because many different parties are involved in the rating, but it is very time-consuming and can cause friction, obviously, between peers. But it can also be not acceptable in all cultures and environment because subordinates rating their supervisors, that will only work in very specific environments. Then we have the BARS method, which is called behaviorally anchored rating scales. And those contain very detailed descriptions of job-specific behaviors of varying degrees of achievement, and they are formulated based on organizational, departmental, and team goals through job analysis and job descriptions. So those are very transparent and objective, but they can be very time-consuming when initially created and drafted because they actually provide very detailed examples of explicit behaviors and how they would be rated based on the same. Here I've listed some of the most common challenges in performance management systems and how we will combat those. So first, obviously, the collection, combination, and consolidation of all of this data and information, and then to apply the same into unique scenarios and to create fair and consistent ratings is a very difficult task. So we will use technology to combat this problem. Second, the contextual considerations. So we will consider and keep in mind the Japanese cultural context and apply Hofstede's cultural dimensions. And we will also keep in mind the company and what they want and value and what their mission is and their goal for their performance management system. Third, sometimes performance management systems are used for conflicting purposes, so we will make sure we're only using it for monitoring goal achievement and for learning and developmental purposes. And of course, rater bias, and we will combat this issue by using BARS, the behaviorally anchored rating system, which is very objective and helps fight rater bias. Here are some of the criticisms about performance management systems. 70% of employers agree that their performance management system needs improvement, and 95% of managers are dissatisfied. 50% of employees are surprised at the rating they receive at the end of the year, so they had no idea how they were doing the entire year, and 90% are unhappy with their review. Less than 20% of employees feel motivated by the process. 49% conduct their performance management review annually or semi-annually. 7% conduct no performance management review, and 28% conduct them quarterly. And employees really want feedback and career development and guidance on how to improve and to get better. And they want to have conversations regarding their career and their development. Performance management systems have been known to be very complex, resource-intensive, and expensive, and research has not found any clear advantages or any significant organizational improvement that would justify applying these kind of resources. The contemporary consensus is painting a more collaborative, forward-looking, future-oriented picture of ongoing conversation and dialogue regarding performance, and really focused on simplicity, efficiency, objectivity, and transparency, as well as considering the opinions and input of employees, especially in goal setting, and that the performance management system is really used for learning and development and overall improvement of employees. The meetings, the more formal ones, should occur at least quarterly, but again, the performance conversation should be continuous and include real-time feedback aided by technology. Emphasis and consideration of the perception of a performance management system is important, that employees perceive the same as being fair, and that they can improve, and it helps them develop their careers. It's also important to train managers on how to give effective feedback and make them aware of potential bias. Performance management systems really need to have clear objectives and clarify on how the employees can achieve those goals and how they are helping the whole company achieve the company's goals. That makes them feel really motivated and that they're actually part of something larger and working towards a mutual purpose with everybody on board. And then keep performance and development conversations separate from discussions about raises and bonuses so that the employees can focus on learning instead of being distracted by monetary goals. Okay, so let me introduce you to the company we're going to discuss, which is Deloitte, and I will give you an overview and a little background regarding their story and what they've recently done with their performance management system. Deloitte was founded in 1845 by William Deloitte, and what started as a very small accountancy firm has grown substantially over the past 179 years to a global market leader with over 450,000 employees. And today, Deloitte can be found in over 150 different countries and on 6 continents. Deloitte was also Japan's first nationwide audit firm, founded in 1968, and is called Deloitte Tohmatsu Group. As far as services are concerned, Deloitte offers audit and assurance services, business and tax consulting, as well as financial, risk, and legal advisory services to their clients. The company prides itself in designing expert custom solutions for a wide variety of organizational needs, with the overarching objective of maximizing efficiency and cost optimization by harnessing the power of expertise and integrating cutting-edge technology in all of their services. Values. Deloitte wants to lead the way, not only related to its core services, but also champions innovation and technology, fosters a collaborative, team-oriented environment on a foundation of trust and integrity, and voices the importance of diversity and taking care of one another. Their motto, making an impact that matters together. This again reflects their focus on group-oriented collaboration and cohesion. In recent years, Deloitte has completely restructured their entire performance management system, as internal studies pointed out that the company was spending about 2 million hours per year and costly resources on their performance management system, and further investigation confirmed that the benefits obtained by these methods simply did not outweigh the costs, and that it was not an effective and efficient driver of organizational objectives. Deloitte recognized that their performance management system was no longer congruent with the company's goals and values, and realized that they needed to apply proactive measures to realign the same. More specifically, Deloitte realized that the organizational spending and application of costly and time-consuming resources to promote their former performance management system was not producing the results they had hoped for. So Deloitte completely changed their approach from the once-a-year cumbersome 360-degree retrospective process to a forward-looking, ongoing performance conversation that provides employees with personalized information and operates in a framework of learning and development. The more formal meetings are scheduled quarterly or at the end of a project, whichever one comes first. However, as previously mentioned, the performance conversation is continuous and reviewed at a minimum once per week, and those meetings are called check-ins. Deloitte also moved away from assessing individual traits or characteristics to identifying and elevating strengths. And research supports Deloitte's findings in that it is very difficult to measure another person's skills and general traits, and they recommend using quantifiable measures, such as sales data, for example. And if that is not possible, then one should include very clear and specific descriptions of what is being measured, because that will help the employee understand, and it will also mitigate any potential rater bias. Deloitte's goals for their performance management system is to acknowledge, reward, and increase performance. And now they want to identify strengths of team members by asking team leaders 4 questions about their team members. Whether or not they would award the individual the highest possible bonus and raise, whether they want to continue working with this individual in the future, whether the employee is ready to be promoted or is a low performer. And this shifts away from focusing on evaluating others' skills and traits to conveying their thoughts and potential future actions about the employee, as research has shown that measuring skills and traits can be problematic related to the validity. So again, they have converted the very convoluted performance management system to 4 simple questions that are called snapshots, and they're strategically designed to move away from rating something that simply cannot be measured by the rater. Furthermore, Deloitte performs frequent check-ins and assesses the intra-team quality and harmony through surveys, and tailors career progression programs to individual employees and assigns career coaches. And one more thing, even though they're really focused on technology, the check-ins are supposed to be in person and very personal to nurture relationships. And here's a brief summary of the Deloitte performance management system, what we just discussed. They use snapshots, the 4 questions that team leaders are supposed to answer about their teams and team members, frequent check-ins, team pulse surveys, talent reviews. They use career coaches and technology. Now let's look at the Japanese culture. It's critical to have a global mindset and apply HR practices, including performance management systems, within their cultural context. Otherwise, their application will be ineffective and unproductive, or worse, will create frustration and conflict within the organizational climate. Power distance. Japan scores between medium and high on the aspect of Hofstede's cultural dimension of power distance, which means they prefer a vertical alignment, centralized power structures, managers that make decisions without subordinate input, hierarchy, and the employees accept the unequal distribution of power, and they work within the framework that is provided by their supervisors and align with the organizational hierarchy and its demands. Performance management systems that take subordinates' opinions into account, such as with the MBO method, would likely not be well received by the participants. Ratings are typically given by a supervisor as opposed to a performance management system that includes evaluations of managers by subordinates, such as in a 360-degree review. Learning development and continuous improvement are highly encouraged, and the manager is usually seen as a teacher and a coach. Japan scores extremely high on the dimension of uncertainty avoidance, which means as a society they tend to avoid situations that are unclear, ambiguous, or any condition that contains any unknown factors. So processes must be very transparent and clearly outlined and have a clear path and a structure and be as detailed as possible. So for example, a higher base pay and smaller incentives would be more common as that provides more security and leaves out unknown factors. Managers generally do not delegate many of their responsibilities, but are actively involved in the tasks of their subordinates. Rules, laws, and regulations, and anything that provides clarity and predictability are desired. The behaviorally anchored rating scales, or bars, would be very successful in Japan as they provide a very detailed description of behaviors that are rated and therefore offer a clear and unambiguous path as to how the rater arrived at their conclusion. Japan is a collectivist culture, which means that work is team-based and each group member is expected to make individual sacrifices to benefit the success of the team, such as working overtime, not taking any time off, and complete dedication and commitment are expected of each member. And social bonding after a long day of work are common. This is important to nurture the longevity and trust in the relationship of the team. And relationships are of utmost importance. This can be respected by forming teams with individuals who are already familiar with one another and have a strong bond and personal relationship. And teams would also remain stable over a long period of time. So you wouldn't switch around team members that often to nurture and respect this cohesion. And personal relationships between coworkers and even their bosses can go as far as going on vacation together. Tsukiyai. Unlike Western countries where professional and personal relationships are separate from each other, in Japan it is unlikely for transactions to work out unless there is either a long-standing, close and personal relationship between the business partners or the parties are interested in developing one. This is called tsukiyai and refers to the mandatory close relationship between professionals as a foundation of professional interactions. Keiretsu. Companies of different sectors are also connected in a close network called keiretsu. These corporate associations are also very deep and long-standing and often personal relationships that are an integral part of the Japanese culture. Conformity. Individuals would not really express individual opinions and ideas if the group's collective mindset varies from their own perspective. In individualist cultures, people want to be distinct and different from others. But in collectivist cultures, there's interdependence and interconnectedness of the self with the group in a wider context. So they prioritize perspectives of the groups, not those of the individual. And members of the group strive to attain harmony and consensual agreement. So individual feelings, thoughts, and opinions are sacrificed for the benefit of the group's organization and functioning. They actually strive to be similar to others as opposed to wanting to be unique, better, or different from others like we do in a Western culture. Furthermore, they derive their value and self-worth from a group framework, i.e. how they fit into and are useful to the group, and how others view their interactions with the group. The individuals in a group also want to look good and want to be seen as making a positive impact for the group. Meetings are extremely important and valued not only from the high uncertainty avoidance perspective, but also due to the desire to achieve consensus on all issues of the discussion. So they can be very long and communication is definitely a priority. Evaluations would consider team efforts and accomplishments, more than individual contributions, and the individuals would mainly be rated related to his contributions to the team. There would be a lot of cross-training so that employees or team members can be flexible within their group and contribute fully to the team. And any mistakes and complaints from customers would be seen as a learning opportunity, and they would apply training and coaching instead of immediately terminating somebody. Japanese culture believes in change and that an employee can be changed and improved. So they would make an attempt to coach and train and develop an employee instead of terminating him like an individualist culture would likely do. Because individualistic cultures, they don't really believe in change. They see things as more stable and steady over time. Whereas in Japan, they believe in change and improvement. Japan also scores high on the masculinity dimension. This means they value hard work, competitiveness, commitment to one's career, and making work and career a focal point in their lives at the expense of family and leisure time. They take a lot of pride in working long hours to show commitment and loyalty to their team and their organization. Also, the Japanese very rarely use their annual leave, and this phenomenon may also stem from their desire to show restraint, commitment, and strength. Karoshi, which is a term used to describe death by overwork, and until recently, Japanese employees have been working extremely long hours, some 100 hours or more of overtime per month. So the Japanese government finally stepped in and now implemented legislation limiting overtime work and mandates taking days off. Supervisors are expected to be firm and assertive, but of course fair. But also based on this would not be considered appropriate for especially a male supervisor to be concerned about emotions and feelings, but he would be expected to conduct himself in a rational, logical, and just manner. Japan also scores high on the long-term dimension. Work relationships are of the utmost importance and priority, and it is common to view a career with a certain company as a lifelong commitment, as opposed to a brief stepping stone in one's career. Not unusual for employees to be promoted based on their seniority with the company, and both companies and employees view each other as a long-term investment and commitment. Decision-making process can be lengthy and tedious, as many opinions and angles are considered to arrive at the best possible choice. Goals are planned out meticulously and far into the future. Japan is also a restrained culture as opposed to an indulgent one, as many Western countries are. Thus, it would be inappropriate to make a decision based on the desire to obtain a short-term goal. So unlike in Western countries, it would not be typical for an employee to leave an organization for a better opportunity. Lack of performance of an employee would usually not result in termination, but in focusing on learning and developing this employee's opportunities. Training programs such as job rotation as well as ongoing on-the-job training are very popular in Japan. Here are some additional facts about the Japanese culture. They really try to avoid conflict at all costs and partake in lengthy discussions in decision-making processes to reach consensus and to support overall harmony. Again, social harmony, not profit, are the ultimate goal and of utmost importance. Collective opinions, not individual ones, and they really want consensual commitment to decisions. Also, the decisions are not made in an instant, but they can take a while because they don't want to be rushed and force any decisions, but consider everyone's opinions and perspectives. They use a more indirect approach in speech and language, and direct and confrontational speech is avoided. Again, this is because harmony is paramount and conflict is to be avoided at all costs. People want to agree, so refusals and criticisms are very indirect. They rarely say no. They may say maybe or maybe not respond at all, but they usually do not say no. They are very visual and they like data and diagrams. They are a big proponent of the performance management systems, and it is widely used for decision making, usually related to efficiency, social skills, learning, and anything progression. Kaizen is also another aspect of their culture, which means continuous improvement, and they value frequent feedback that is concise, transparent, based on data, and efficiently gathered and transmitted by using technology. So based on what we discussed so far, a performance review system for the Japanese company should focus on the team holistically as opposed to the individual and create measures appropriate for evaluating group performance instead of focusing on a single employee's contributions to the company, and only focus on individual performance as it relates and affects the team due to their collectivist culture. Then we said that the BARS system, the behaviorally anchored rating system, would be an appropriate method for the Japanese due to their uncertainty avoidance, and systems like ranking wouldn't work due to their collectivist mindset, as ranking would rate and compare individual employees to one another. MBOs wouldn't work because it would include individual employees in the decision-making process and the goal setting, and that would be inappropriate due to their collectivist and power distance aspects unless we use it for team purposes, where the team collectively creates goals. And the 360 wouldn't work or be appropriate again because subordinates rating their supervisors would not be appropriate due to their power distance thinking, and peers rating each other could cause friction. Then we found out that frequent communication is very important and long consensus-seeking meetings are expected. The language used in meetings should be very indirect and non-confrontational. And there should be an overall emphasis and framing of the performance management system of training, coaching, and learning, as they believe that change is possible. And then all systems should be very transparent and detailed, and this is due to their uncertainty avoidance, and this is how we arrived at the BARS system. Now, when we put all of these aspects together, the general research about performance management systems, the background and the 21st century considerations, the unique organizational factors and aspects that are important to Deloitte, and put all of this in the cultural context of Japan, then we will now arrive at the performance management system that will work best for Deloitte in Japan. Recommendations. The Japanese want to avoid uncertainty, and therefore a performance management system will need to be very transparent, detailed, and specific. Also, Deloitte was concerned about not being able to measure abstract aspects of performance and concluded that it is best to measure observable job-related behaviors, not theoretical personal traits, and that is exactly what BARS will provide. While Deloitte's 4-question performance management system and their snapshots achieve efficiency, I believe they're not detailed enough to satisfy the Japanese uncertainty avoidance component. Thus, a modified, briefer, and more efficient version of BARS with the assistance of AI will be designed to accommodate both Deloitte and Japan. BARS can be time-consuming when initially created. However, the effectiveness of this process will outweigh the initial efforts. Furthermore, we can use technologies such as AI to help the process. Also, most organizations use 5 levels of ratings when applying the BARS method. However, because Deloitte prefers a simple and straightforward method, a 3-level BARS will be designed. Therefore, this particular BARS performance review system will keep the brevity valued by Deloitte in mind, as well as the Japanese cultural context within which it will be applied. BARS includes the collaboration of multiple experts and groups of managers from different areas of the organization. So it is more holistic and well-rounded as opposed to just considering the description of one manager. Furthermore, BARS is more objective and perceived as fair because it is very thoroughly developed by individuals who are personally familiar with the job and its requirements. Also, the foundation upon which the ratees are evaluated is not secret and up to the rater to interpret, as it is measured against a very detailed description of behaviors that are directly related to the job at hand. If there is a reward, it should be team-based, such as gain sharing. Coaching and meetings. The team leader, due to the power distance, should act as the coach and provide ongoing, personalized real-time support. This can be aided by AI and other technology to discover patterns and create alerts, but coaching and check-ins need to be in person to nurture and deepen meaningful relationships and trust. Team members focus on cross-training intra-team to ensure that each team member can fully and flexibly support the goals of the team due to the collectivism. Team leaders explain how the performance is measured and evaluated and be transparent and show participants how their actions and behaviors are contributing to the overall goals. The focus should be on the development, growth, and skill improvement and help employees identify and use their skills. Spend time with the team and develop meaningful relationships, make them feel valued, and increase their engagement by creating a trusting environment based on psychological safety and acknowledge effort and hard work. Meetings need to be in person, which is extremely important. They can be long and detailed to achieve consensus and harmony, and the goals should be mutually agreed upon, and they should be SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Overall organizational goals should be revisited at least once a year. Departmental and business unit goals and also team goals should be more formally visited every 3 months or after each project, whichever comes first, but check-ins need to be weekly and very frequent. Technology will keep track and provide access to real-time data in apps or dashboards, and they will provide a visual representation of goal achievement and processes. Feedback is imperative due to the future impact it can have. Depending on the quality of the feedback, it will influence how the information is perceived and how participants will act on the same. Again, to be perceived as fair, having a close relationship with employees is the foundation. Furthermore, the process should be transparent, unambiguous, and presented within a bidirectional exchange. Involving the team in decision-making, such as goal setting, will boost their engagement due to the increased autonomy. Feedback should be frequent, detailed, and non-confrontational. Real-time feedback is crucial because it increases their perception of controllability. They want to know where they stand and how their performance is contributing to the team efforts due to their uncertainty avoidance and collectivism culture. Negative feedback is generally not well received, not by the Japanese or anybody else, because it is in the past and out of the ratee's control. There's nothing they can do. It already happened. So they feel like they don't have control over their actions. It can damage rater-ratee relationships, cause resentment, frustration, and lower motivation and engagement. It is better to frame negative feedback as a learning opportunity and focus on the future improvement, not on what happened in the past. For example, customer complaints about lack of response time could be framed as a learning opportunity on having the team figure out how they can be more efficient and how they can improve their response time together. And then due to being a collectivist culture, Japan, they are mainly interested in learning about potential negative features of themselves that need to be addressed to improve the performance of the group and increase their value to benefit other team members and maximize other team members' benefits from their contributions. Since we've decided we're going with the bars method, let's look at the process. It starts with a thorough job analysis that creates a list of detailed tasks and behaviors called critical incidents that describe behaviors at varying levels of success and give a detailed and specific examples of behaviors instead of some abstract ideas of performance or overall general qualities and characteristics that cannot really be measured objectively. This reduces rater bias and error, and multiple individuals will work on forming these descriptions. And this is usually done by interviews and questionnaires from employees and managers. In the next step, similar actions and behaviors are sorted and grouped into categories. Next, the varying descriptions of behaviors are now sorted and categorized into the different levels of job performance. Then behaviors are reviewed and unnecessary ones are eliminated. And lastly, statistical analysis then determines the behavior's place on the scale, and the ratee's behavior is then compared to the specifically defined behavioral example on that scale. To further support and contribute to the efficiency emphasized by Deloitte, the use of technology and more specifically integrating AI will be imperative. AI can contribute to the efficiencies of the BARS performance management system in several ways. Gather and analyze data related to job functions, including relevant tasks and behaviors, as well as other indicators and information, and based on this, assist in the drafting the detailed descriptions of behavior, the critical incidents we just discussed in the BARS process. Furthermore, it can identify which specific behaviors can be sorted into the various groups and themes of related tasks, such as communication skills or teamwork. Next, AI can assign the various ratings to the sorted behaviors and attach detailed explanations and examples of varying degrees and match them to the meet, does not meet, exceeds expectations. Thus, AI would perform most of the tedious work and steps of the BARS process previously discussed. Teamwork components. Deloitte uses Pulse service to analyze the quality of the team environment, which is good for changing inefficiencies within the team processes and also can counteract potential detrimental inter-team developments. And those would be addressed, without delay and proactive behavior, and thereby increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of the team. AI can also track and improve existing as well as define new forward-looking key performance indicators or KPIs, and make predictions on outcomes based on discovered relationships and connections that are highly relevant to success, however, may be left undetected by human analysis. For example, AI may detect and link certain customer behaviors within the client portal that are related to future service requests or how certain words used by the team to communicate with the client subsequently resulted in longer relationships and higher revenue. All of these subtle nuances are mostly invisible to the human eye and mind, or would be too difficult to gather, analyze, and track that the benefits would not outweigh the effort. These AI-generated KPIs can subsequently be integrated into the PMS to optimize performance, as metrics that are not constantly evaluated, regarded their relevance, become outdated and impractical in their application. So it is important to always be a step ahead and update your KPIs. Deloitte developed and uses BEATS, which is called Behavioral and Emotion Analytics Tool, that evaluates speech, language, and emotion used in customer interactions and assesses the same for quality of speech patterns and language used that may have a positive or negative outcome as far as risk or future customer relationship is concerned. This provides up-to-date learning opportunities for the teams, as well as agility for the team lead to pivot as necessary. And like I said earlier, the BARS process starts with a job analysis and the drafting of a job description. So we will now look at the job description for the Global Employment Tax Consultant, and we will focus on the item that's in the top middle. that states help clients understand and manage the complexities of their U.S. and global employment tax obligations, i.e. taxing and reporting compensation delivered to employees, executives, expatriates, non-employee directors, independent contractors, agency workers, and more. Okay, now we're assuming that the job analysis was conducted, the job description was drafted, and we have our critical incidents and our detailed examples of performance behaviors was drafted by the managers with the help of AI. Then they were grouped, sorted, categorized, and assigned to different levels of job performance and placed on a scale. And now we can look at an example of the individual evaluation. Now again, because we're in Japan, we're only looking at individual evaluation on how it contributes to teamwork. So number one would be this behavior would need improvement, and the behavior would be described as follows. The employee is not open to opinions and ideas that differ from own, frequently displays hostility to other team members who may not agree with the employee's strategy. He's unwilling to discuss others' ideas and not open to learn, does not share knowledge with others in an attempt to compete, displays other behaviors that undermine team performance and efficiency. Number two would be an example of meeting expectations. The employee usually displays openness to ideas and opinions different from own, transparent with own knowledge and willing to share when approached with questions, actively contributes to team objectives within framework and structure provided, and is willing to be a source of knowledge and information to other team members. And number three would be an example of how the employee would exceed expectations. The employee actively seeks others' opinions and knowledge with the goal to learn and enrich own knowledge base, displays complete transparency related to own ideas and opinions and background as to how strategy was formulated, and actively seeks to share knowledge with others, proactively trains new and junior employees, and contributes to team objectives and ensures other team members' success. And here would be an example of the team-based evaluation of the level of knowledge of tax law based on the job description we looked at. Number one would be an example of behavior that would need improvement. Team is unfamiliar with common tax laws and regulations that apply directly to team's client group within the assigned market, frequently needs assistance with answering client questions and locating applicable tax laws, and the team does not ask for assistance and makes frequent mistakes. Two would be an example of behaviors that meets expectations. The team is familiar with applicable tax laws related to assigned market, is usually able to answer common client questions related to tax laws and procedures within specific client market, occasionally needs direction in answering unique questions or when contributing to other teams' projects, displays only some familiarity with tax laws, regulations, and procedures with clients outside of team's client market. And number three would be an example of exceeding expectations. The team displays superior knowledge of applicable tax laws related to assigned client market, as well as strong familiarity with tax laws beyond assigned client market, and is able to answer common and uncommon client questions within assigned market without assistance. Ability to research case law to provide answers to special client scenarios that may be unique or uncommon. Conclusion. Based on the research conducted regarding contemporary performance management systems of the 21st century, acknowledging and including the preferences, values, and goals of Deloitte, and at the same time creating a performance management system in a context-considerate framework that identifies and highlights Japanese culture, it was possible to create a system that maximizes efficiency by optimizing its deliberate design. We found that a performance management system accommodating all three of these factors needs to include collaboration and teamwork, involve a future-oriented ongoing conversation that is non-confrontational and applied in a learning and developmental framework, detailed and specific expectation, and also provides real-time feedback, and we will maximize efficiency by using technology at all steps of our performance management system. Thank you for attending, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.